You have probably heard someone say before, especially young children, I don't want to learn from other people's mistakes. I want to make my own mistakes. I'm Isaac, and this is you, yourself, and you, and the road to success as an amateur filmmaker. I don't want to learn from other people's mistakes. I want to make my own mistakes. How stupid is that? It is true that you get the best lessons from your own experience. But the question is it always necessary to experience things yourself, especially bad things, before you learn your lesson? And if you want to look for the worst teacher in the world, just look around you and you will find that teacher. That teacher is life. Probably the worst teacher ever. Remember in school, you were taught the lessons first before you wrote the tests. Life works the other way around. It lets you write the test first before it teach you the lesson. And sometimes people do learn from those mistakes. And they do take the lessons that life teaches them to heart. But most of the time, people just go on doing the same thing, making mistake after mistake in their own quest to learn from their own mistakes. But that is so stupid. Why should you learn from your own mistakes when there is such a vast library of real life lessons that you can learn from? Learn from other people who made their own mistakes. You don't have to make your own mistakes to learn. Okay, it's better if you learn from your own mistakes. But there are some mistakes that it is just better to learn from other people's mistakes. And this is the reason why I said before, it is so strange that there are books that teach you how to be successful, how to become successful. But there are no books that teach you how to fail. And I forgot this fact. There is one book that has been written that tells you what you should do to fail. And that is life. Life really is a bad teacher. It gives you the test first and then teaches you the lesson. And as I've said earlier, it depends on the person whether he or she will learn that lesson from that mistake. It is necessary to make mistakes in life. It is necessary that opportunities are created from which you can learn. But the question is, do we learn from those mistakes? Do we learn from those lessons that life teaches us? But now you might ask, what does this have to do with amateur filmmakers or indie filmmakers for that matter? You see, as I've said before also, most people want to achieve something in life. Most people have a goal they want to reach. But how you get to that goal is another question. A question that only you yourself and you can answer. No one else can answer that question for you. But ask yourself, what is your goal in life? What is your goal as an amateur or indie filmmaker? What do you want to achieve? And I ask this question specifically because I can see that most amateur filmmakers, the vast majority, don't learn from the mistakes they made. They just don't learn from their mistakes. You can't see any improvement in the quality of product they deliver. They just continue to deliver the same quality of product. Now here's another thing. You can't change today. Today already happened. But you can make sure that tomorrow turns out better than today. But for that to happen, you have to be conscious of everything you did yesterday and make sure that you don't make those mistakes of yesterday again today. I like to say to people, we are so much in a hurry to try and solve our problems today. But we don't look at where those problems come from. And I can tell you now one thing. Many people who are in debt today, deep in debt that they feel like they can't survive, most of them just continue to make debt because they become so used to being in debt. But it still does not solve their problems. So how do you solve a problem like that? How do you solve any kind of problem? To solve a problem, you have to look at where that problem originated. Take a person that is so deep in debt that the person can see no way out of that debt. But the person won't solve the problem because he or she is just looking at today, what they're going to do today with their debt. But even if they get R1,000,000 today and they pay off their debt, I can promise you before the end of the year they will be deep in debt again because it becomes a habit, and habits that has been formed is difficult to break. And I can tell you now, for that person to solve that problem, they don't have to look at today. They don't have to just find money today to solve the problem. They have to go back into their past. You see, all of our problems that we have today didn't start today. It started somewhere in our past. And there normally is a reason why it started. And that needs to be solved first before he or she can solve his or her debt problem. Now, yet again you might ask, what does that have to do with amateur filmmakers who aspire to become professional filmmakers? It has everything to do with them. Because the problems they're experiencing today did not start today. The fact that they are not professional filmmakers yet, that problem did not start today. It started somewhere in the past. If you look at the films they made back then, and you look at the films they make now, you won't find a difference. I can promise you, between the first film, the third film, the fourth film, fifth film, you will find the same problems, the same mistakes. And that is because, as I've said before also, those views, likes, and good comments on YouTube, something that doesn't really do well for the futures as professional filmmakers. Okay, they can do something about it. They can go back to school, go to a film school and learn the skills that they need and build up connections while being there. But still, that won't help much also, because there's many who became qualified filmmakers who still don't have jobs. Just like in South Africa, you find many qualified actors and actresses who never acted on stage or in a film, but is teaching, is working at a business because they were just too scared, or they did not want to take the time to go from audition to audition to audition to get a role. You see, to achieve anything in life, you have to make sacrifices. Now, what does it have to do with amateur filmmakers and indie filmmakers in our country? It starts with that problem of likes, views, and good comments on social media pages like YouTube and Facebook. Our amateur filmmakers, as I've said before, likes those comments, like to see their views stacking up, like to see the likes. And you can see it in the comments that they make on comments they received. Thanks for liking my film. Watch out for my next film. So they would get into the next film so fast without even really giving any thought to it. See, their problem of today started back then when they got that first likes and views and good comments. it becomes addictive, those views, likes, and comments. And you will find that some amateur filmmakers actually put a lot of time into social media to encourage people to watch their films, to like their films, and to help their views go up and to subscribe. All fair and well, but what effect will it have on the long run on that same filmmaker? I can promise you now, those views, those likes, those comments will cause that filmmaker to make the same film over and over and over again because his or her viewers on YouTube like it. And here's another thing that so many people don't understand. Yesterday is gone. Yesterday is the past, and there's nothing you can change about that. So you've been a full amateur filmmaker a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you're still making the same film, and you were making the same film also yesterday, because that is what your viewers like. That is what your viewers love. But what about tomorrow? What about drawing the attention of the people you really want to draw? You won't draw it with the films that you made in the past. You need to change. And that is where that thing of mindset comes in.